Okay, very good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Lasham Daily Briefing for Wednesday, the 23rd of April, 2025. We'll start with the synoptic. Having a look, starting midday yesterday. You can see we had that low centered off the western coast of Ireland, bringing with it a bit of frontal activity. But with that nice gap we had quite a pleasant soaring day yesterday. If we start cycling that through, you can see midnight last night, it was now over the sort of main body of Ireland itself, and that occlusion was beginning to reach us. And that's what brought some of that poor weather overnight that we're still seeing at the moment. Looking midday today, it's continuing to move to the west, now centered more or less over London, and with it bringing a weakening occlusion over more or less where we are here at Lasham. As a result, we've got some less than fantastic weather today, but as you can see, it is weakening by that stage. So by sort of mid-afternoon, it should have cleared sufficiently to have quite a nice evening. And then when we look midnight tonight, you can see it's more or less fizzled out now. And we've now got another system coming in from the west. But that should leave us with a reasonable day tomorrow. Looking at the sat pic for today, you can see lots of clouds centered over south of England here, all associated with that weather system. And a lot of rain, more or less past us now. We might get the occasional shower in the next couple of hours, but otherwise, the vast majority of that wet weather has cleared off to our east. Just confirming that with the Met Office's rain forecast, we'll run that through just now. You can see the evidence of all that rain, and by sort of 11 o'clock, it's clear of us, more or less. A couple of bands running through early afternoon, otherwise clearing into the afternoon, and that should allow for some flying today and hopefully a very good evening group session. The RAF Odium TAF, quite a long one today, but in summary, they're suggesting northeasterly initially, then going around to the east-southeast, about 15 knots wind, reasonable visibility scattered at 2,000 feet. Generally, but then up until 1 o'clock local, breaking 800, and then some poor visibility, rain possibly scattered at 500, and then between 9 and 1, 3,000 meters of visibility, drizzle breaking at 400 feet, becoming between 1 and 4, scattered 2,500 feet, and there's a prop 30 in for 5 until 7 of scattered at 2,200. So the general summary of that is clearing from about 1 o'clock onwards, lifting to give us hopefully quite a pleasant afternoon. Just check what Farnborough says, very much the same, the general theme being breaking 2.5, and then in the earlier stage of the day, 7,000 drizzly rain, breaking at 1,200, and then possibly even lower breaking at 600 with 4,000 meters and drizzle. Looking at the spot winds, south of us at 2,000 feet, we've got 330, 15 knots, and to the north of us, 2,000 feet, we've got 080, 15 knots. So we're expecting a more easterly, despite the westerly flow, we can expect easterly winds here at Lasham today. And just confirming that with windy here, showing much more of a southerly component than the other forecasters would suggest. We can certainly anticipate a northeasterly surface wind when we'll be flying. But at the moment, we've got a bit more from the south, beginning in the west early this morning, and it's working its way around to the northeast. Just looking at the local Met Office forecast. See low cloud all throughout until 4 or 5 o'clock, in which case it's opening up. We should have scattered cloud, a nice little bit of sun. Fairly cool, about 12 degrees, feeling about 10 in the warmest part of the day. And there's our northeasterly wind there. Visibility is relatively poor for much of the day, but once this cloud base is lifted and we get some slightly nicer weather in, we should have in excess of sort of 30 or 40 kilometers. Temperature, so the GFS is suggesting that we've got slightly cooler than what the Met Office would say. See this wedge of cooler air here, more or less over where we are, running up to North Wales all the way down towards the southeastern coast. I think it's around 8 or 9 degrees. We might get slightly warmer than that, depending on how quickly this cloud breaks. And we're seeing a dew point. Again, that wedge still existing, but giving us about 7 degrees on the dew point. Looking on the south side webcam facing west, you can see the evidence of all that. Not very nice, quite clagged in and low cloud variable base in places at the moment, probably between about 500 and 600 feet, with some rain possibly on the way. I'll just refresh this to see where we are at the moment. We've got a temperature of 9.8 centigrade locally at Lasham and a dew point of 7.9. So really we need that dew point to drop off a little bit and let's get the cloud base to move up. The sky sight point forecast tells very much the same story, suggesting by about 1:30 it should have lifted maybe 1,500 feet, and we might get above 1,000 feet. That's mean sea level by about 11:30, 12 o'clock. That's suggesting possibly slightly soarable, but generally overcast for much of the day. So I'm a bit skeptical of that, but we'll see if we can manage any prolonged flights. Upper winds, again, easterly, about 10 to 15 knots, quite light, and a bit more northeasterly on the ground, beginning from the west, and by about 11 o'clock, when we'll be flying easterly, 7 knots, maxing out at about 15 on the gusts. We have a look at cloud distribution now on top meteor. See with Lasham being down here, starting at 9 o'clock local. We run that through hour by hour. Got a lot of low, sub 1,000 foot cloud with a bit of fog locally. Then by about 11, 12 o'clock, that starts to break up, and we'll see some cumulus underneath the stratosphere. Doesn't mean the base is going to lift a huge amount necessarily, but by this time it should be flyable. And as we cycle through now, approaching 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock local, starts to break up, seeing a little bit thin alto cumulus. And then we start to see that break up by 7 o'clock. It should be scattered clouds, more or less clear skies other than that. And by the time the kit's getting put away this evening, it should be nice and clear. Not many NOTAMs to affect us, just the usual 22, 25, and 26. 22 being live firing at Boston Stacey. 25 is Delta 132 Ash ranges, which are active. And 26 will be illuminant firing at Sandhurst, but that's not until the later part of today. So it's nothing to concern us. Move on now to the local airfield brief, beginning with the RF Iridium cross section. You can see that's very much conducive with what we can see outside the window just now. Sub 500 foot base. They're suggesting that will may remain the case until about 11:30, at which point it starts to become broken and scattered. And then we're going to move up to probably about 1,000 feet. So ample cloud base for training. And we've got quite a few people on the list today, so hopefully we'll make the most of the weather. Then later into the afternoon, by about 3 o'clock, up in excess of 2,000 feet altitude. So we might even be able to squeeze in a couple of trial lessons at the end of the day. And you can see that upper cloud continues until the end of the chart, about 18 or 1900 local. But I wouldn't be put off by any of this. It's still a day to be had. It might be a slightly delayed start, but I'd like us to be ready to go so that as soon as we do have a reasonable cloud base, we're able to start launching. On that topic, we've got a lot of bookings. So there's one K21 for course flying. There's 3 K21s for booked flying with students and instructors. There's a K13 on trial lessons and a K21 on the casual list and for club members. got quite limited single seat availability, but there are a couple of slots still available, and there are presently 2 on the casual list with 1 instructor. For the initial part of the day, once you've got the gliders, the hangar doors open, gliders DI'd, or we're waiting for it to lift, the simulator will be available for your use as normal. No movements to report today. And to summarise, we have a depression centred over the south of England with northeasterly winds, locally low cloud and drizzle easing into the afternoon. We'll be on runway 09 today, cables on the grass to the south, air towing from the north. Please make sure you're ready when the cable or the target arrives. As normal, ensure we're not landing or taxiing on the disused runways shown here in red. And this will be our launch point setup. So the launch point vehicle at the aiming point is normal, winching off the south, air turning off the north. That's all from me today. We'll try and make the best of what we have and get the kit out and ready to go. Keep it safe, and I'll see you out there.